Hello, BCPS students and families. I'm so happy to share this read aloud with you today. Today, we're reading The Other Side, written by Jacqueline Woodson, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. This week, fourth graders are learning about theme. During the read aloud today, we're going to stop and talk about the theme of the story, including some of the clues the author is giving us to share their message. Then, after you listen to the story, we're going to ask some questions for you to think about and maybe share with somebody at home. After that, we're going to ask you to write about the story. You may choose one or both writing prompts. You can even share your writing with your teacher. Lastly, we're going to give you some ways to enrich your thinking and extend and have fun. I hope you enjoy your story today, The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson.
Today, I'm going to read a historical fiction text called The Other Side, written by Jacqueline Woodson, illustrations by E.B. Lewis, with permission to read from Penguin Random House in partnership with Nancy Paulson Books. When I read a historical fiction text, I get my brain ready to think about how the setting, including the location and the time period, affects the story's plot. This can also help me to better understand the characters. In today's text, we will be reading a story about a time when children of different races were not allowed to play together. But one summer, two girls, Clover and Annie, show that change can be made even if from two girls and their friendship. You have been learning about theme, or the author's message. The theme of this story is change can happen little by little, one child at a time. As I read today, I want you to consider what the author and illustrator are showing us about the theme through their words and pictures. I will be monitoring my understanding of the text as I'm reading and will pause at different points to think aloud. Enjoy The Other Side. That summer, the fence that stretched through our town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other. And Mama said, "Don't climb over that fence when you play." She said it wasn't safe. That summer, there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Each morning she climbed up on the fence and stared over at our side. Sometimes I stared back. She never sat on that fence with anybody. That girl didn't. Once, when we were jumping rope, she asked if she could play. And my friend Sandra said no without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. That summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed far away. When I asked Mama why, she said, "Because that's the way things have always been." Sometimes when me and Mama went into town, I saw that girl with her Mama. She looked sad sometimes, that girl did. "Don't stare," my Mama said. "It's not polite." I'm going to pause here and monitor what it is that I've been reading. I'm noticing that the white girl seems very lonely. The narrator and her friends wouldn't let her jump rope with them, and she doesn't seem to have any other friends. It also says in the text that the girl looked sad. I'm going to go ahead and keep reading to find out what happens next. It rained a lot that summer. On rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't even care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, splashing and laughing. "Mama wouldn't let me go out in the rain. That's why I bought you rainy day toys," my mama said. "You stay inside here, where it's warm and safe and dry. But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere near the fence. Some place in the middle of the summer, the rain stopped. When I walked outside, the grass was damp and the sun was already high up in the sky, and I stood there with my hands up in the air. I felt brave that day. I felt free. I got close to the fence and that girl asked me my name. Clover, I said. My name's Annie, she said. Annie Paul. I live over yonder, she said, by where you see the laundry. That's my blouse hanging on the line. She smiled then. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled, and we stood there looking at each other, smiling. It's nice up on this fence, Annie said. You can see all over. I ran my hand along the fence. I reached up and touched the top of it. A fence like this was made for sitting on, Annie said. She looked at me sideways. As I've been reading, I noticed Clover took an interest in Annie. She looked for her on rainy days, and now she's talking to Annie. I wonder if Clover is worried about hanging out with Annie. Her friends and her mama might not like it, but I also know that Clover is interested. Let's go ahead and read to see how their friendship develops. My mama says I shouldn't go on the other side, I said. My mama says the same thing, but she never said nothing about sitting on it. Neither did mine, I said. That summer, me and Annie sat together on that fence, and when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe I didn't care. Some mornings my mama watched us. I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I break my neck or something. But she never did. I see you made a new friend, she said one morning, and I nodded and Mama smiled. That summer me and Annie sat on that fence and watched the whole wide world around us. I think that Mama actually likes the friendship that Clover and Annie have. One day Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence and we asked if we could play. I don't care, Sandra said. And then we jumped. Sandra and me were partners the way we used to be. It seems that Clover and Annie's friendship has changed the way the other girls think too. I see them all sitting together on the top of the fence. It says, when we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on the fence, all of us in a long line. So I'm thinking that because of Clover and Annie, everyone is beginning to have a different perspective about children of different races playing together. Someday, somebody's going to come along and knock this old fence down, Annie said. And I nodded. Yeah, I said, someday. Before I started reading this story, I told you that the theme, or the author's message, was that change can happen little by little, one child at a time. Think about what we were reading in this story. How did Clover and Annie's friendship make change? I hope you enjoyed The Other Side.
Now that you've listened to the story, The Other Side, let's talk about it. Why do you think Annie is sad in the beginning of the book? How do you think Clover feels about Annie looking lonely? Why do you think the girls begin talking to each other and start a friendship? Why do you think Clover's mother didn't tell her to get down off the fence that first day? The theme of this story is change can happen little by little, one child at a time. Which illustration or detail from the text is the best evidence to support this theme? Now it's your turn to write about it. Write a paragraph explaining the importance of the fence in the story. Think about how the children use the fence to push boundaries of that time period. Try to include how the fence symbolizes the need for change. Name some boundaries you are not allowed to cross. Maybe it's a busy street, the corner of the sidewalk, or even an older brother or sister's room. What are the reasons people create boundaries? Connect your examples of boundaries with the examples from the text, the other side. Now, let's have some fun. You may choose one, two, or three of these enrichment activities to go along with the story. E.B. Lewis uses watercolors to create beautiful pictures for the story. Use watercolors or other art supplies to create an outdoor picture of trees, flowers, and the sky. Add the ground and fence too. If you're feeling brave, try adding people in your piece of art. Annie and Clover made friends with each other. Think about the friendships you have. Write a letter, text, or email to a friend. Tell them what you miss about their friendship. Talk about what you two can do together once you can see each other again. The characters in the story are playing outside on the sunny days. On the next sunny day, go outside and swing, jump rope, draw with chalk, or even ride a scooter, skateboard, or bike. Go outside and get some physical activity and have fun. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I did, and I really hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.